So in ARK, currently, we know of two bosses, the Broodmother and the Dragon. The community, myself included, have linked these creatures using their colours to two of the pillars/obelisks present in the game. The Broodmother with their primary colour being green and spitting green acid has been linked to the green pillar, and the Dragon with its primary colour being red, breathing fire, has been linked to the red pillar. This leaves one of the pillars completely empty, the blue pillar. Now, currently the most common theory I've seen for the blue pillar boss online, in the community, on Steam posts, everything, is the Kraken. But there's a few problems with this. If you look at the map, the location of the blue pillar is further inland than both of the other two pillars that are already in the game. And this would mean that the Kraken would either have to fly, or it would spawn in the ocean and then you have to race down to the ocean to fight the boss. Meaning that another tribe could just sit on the coast, wait for you to summon the Kraken, kill it, and take the loot. Which would be a massive problem, and I really, honestly doubt they'll do it. So, if we see the Kraken in game, I have a feeling it's not going to be the Kraken, it'll be big squids in the water, probably deeper down, giant squids and stuff, because you already know they exist IRL. And currently the in-game bosses just spawn at the pillar, so having something there as soon as you're at the pillar so you can fight it, so it gives you a chance to fight it and gives you the best opportunity to actually interact with the boss, which it spawning in the ocean will not help. So knowing that sort of removes the Kraken from the playing field as a boss. As I said, it could just be that they had giant squid into the water, like deeper down with the plesiosaurs and stuff. I think that'd still be pretty cool, fighting off like a giant squid and stuff on your Megalodon. But it does leave the spot open. So I've been poking around, looking at mythological creatures that could take the Kraken's place. And I think I found the best candidate, which is the Hydra. The Hydra would possibly be the best sea-based boss, because the Hydra has also been known to go onto land in different fantasy fiction things. So it would allow the boss fight to possibly have stages, having it fight start at the pillar and then it lead you to the ocean maybe. It also means that the Hydra boss fight fits the size quota, which something like a Griffin wouldn't. Because the current size quota being that these bosses are huge, like you are tiny in comparison to them. If you've seen the Dragon screenshots, which are probably on screen now, the T-Rex is like the size of its forearm, which means you're like the size of its pinky. Like, the bosses are huge, so having something like a Hydra would fit perfectly, because Hydras are usually seen towering over their adversaries, people are usually tiny in comparison to them. And an interesting sort of boss mechanic I've been thinking about, which might add some sort of progression system through the boss fights, would be having it so you have to kill the Broodmother, and the Broodmother then gives you like a stinger, or gives you like a sack of acid or something, some sort of venom, which would then allow you to knock out the dragon, and then you'd have to tame the dragon in order to cauterize the Hydra's heads, because in the it's the Challenges of Hercules, he has to cauterize the wounds of the Hydra's heads, where you cut off the head and it leaves like a neck area. You have to cauterize that so the heads can't grow back. So it would mean that you have to progress through the bosses one by one, and the Hydra being the final boss. And that would add obviously more progression throughout the game. It would add sort of a almost a sort of lore behind the three different bosses, almost. That the Hydra was like the big bad one, but it could be taken out by the dragon could be taken out by the Broodmother, but they're all in their own right, these like massive ultimate creatures that they're supposed to be in the ARK. So, in my opinion, the Hydra is the best possible boss we could see in the game, because it could work as a water-based boss if they lead you to the ocean. It can also work as a land-based boss, like both of the other two. It would also be essentially the king of the ocean if you tamed it, because the Hydra in fiction is always this massive thing with all these different heads. So you could go out into the ocean, you could just destroy everything. Like ocean-based tribes would want to tame the Hydra, because it would be a huge thing. It could possibly have bases built on the back of it, like the plesiosaur. It could probably, at the very least, fit a lot of people on its back, and you've also got several different heads, so you can just demolish anything else in the ocean. This thing would be the king of the ocean-based stuff. And it fighting on land allows it to also fit with the other ones as they spawn at the pillar, so the Hydra could spawn at the pillar. The blue pillar is also next to a river, so I guess the Hydra could rise up from the river. but having the Kraken down there would still mean it would have to fight you in the river, and if you've seen it in like, other games where you have ocean-based boss fights or ocean-based fights against big creatures, the Hydras in Dark Souls do it, where you essentially you sit on the coast with a shield, all their heads hit you, then you lift your shield and you cut off one of its heads. They're not the most interesting boss fights, so I kind of, if they do the Kraken in the game, I really hope it's not just as you sit on the coast and slash at its tendrils, because that would be the most boring thing possible, and ocean-based fighting currently is kinda clunky. You essentially need a mount, like you can't fight stuff on foot, whereas you can fight the Broodmother on foot, because it's a land-based boss, and when the dragon's added in, you can be able to fight that on land as well, but like a water-based boss, solely water-based, would be a pain in the arse to fight. So I feel like the Hydra, which can also be a boss fight on land, would be much more adequate, would be much better as a boss fight, because you can actually have a fight with it, and you have to cauterize the wounds maybe with like possibly fire-based weapons, like a flamethrower. It has a reason to have a flamethrower in the game, or the dragon. So I mean, like, the Hydra boss fight, you could do so many different things with the Hydra, and it would be such an interesting boss fight just as it is. I feel like the Hydra is the best possible boss they could assign to the Blue Pillar if it's going to be a water-based boss. As I said earlier, it could be something flying like a griffin, which would be interesting, but currently going with water-based Hydra, I think, is possibly the best one, and it's something I'd like to see in the game just as is, because Hydras are awesome. So, thank you for listening to my theory where I blabbered on for like 4 minutes that didn't need to be here, but you know, it was fun. So thank you for listening to my theory about the Blue Pillar boss. If you have any other ideas, suggestions, or anything you want me to look at, let me know. Once again, thank you for listening. See you next time.